Yeah, this sample vinaka Talanoa. Malo lele. What Talanoa ati yorana. Pacific greetings to you all. Yeah, English name, dark skin. I'll let you figure that out. Yeah, first and foremost, as always, I'd like to take this time to thank our Heavenly Father for blessing us with such a beautiful evening. Bringing us all here today for fellowship, networking, you name it. We'd like to acknowledge you leaders, our Matuas, our Talatala, a representative from the Ministry of Health, Talanoa Hilda. Thank you for the presence. Welcome. To our Pacific leaders, the GM, clinical directors, and you leaders. But anyways, as leaders, as we are called or named to be, I would like to ask just a simple question, and that is, if you please, to not only hear, but listen with an open heart to what I'm going to share with you today. It's just one request. Yeah? Thank you. How do I start? Wow. As I look around the room, ladies and gentlemen, I look at leaders. And to be honest, if I'm in my village, elders in my village will tell me, you know what? You can never speak. You belong in the kitchen. But today, it's really a huge privilege and honor to be here, standing in front of you leaders, people that I actually look up and I see as role models. A wise man once said, that when you speak, don't just think and speak. You think, feel, and speak. With this, everything that you say comes from the heart. Whether people like it or not, at least they're being honest, right? Young people are faced with many challenges, struggles, whether an addiction, depression, binge drinking, suicidal, to name a few. So I'm here, ladies and gentlemen, to represent all the young people, not only in Aotearoa, but in our tiny Pacific nations. While we are warm and cozy in this room, young people in Aotearoa and Pacific are blowing conch shells. I'll let you figure this out. They are blowing conch shells with the hopes that the sounds will travel and entertain the hearts of leaders in bigger nations. Leaders like you and I, to start taking an issue that is concerning us, issue that's concerning our Pacific people, and that is climate change. So that one day we may all dance Siva, Tawaluna, Meke to the rhythm of these conch shells and know and understand that our hearts are beating as one. An 18-year-old young man was diagnosed with cancer. A few days before he died, he said, the most important thing about death is to ensure that you leave this world better than you found it with your contribution. The theme of my Talanoa tonight is two hearts beating as one. It's about time, ladies and gentlemen, to voice out all the cries of people who are on the front lines of climate change. We as young people in Aotearoa also feel for our brothers and sisters in the islands. Just like what Talanoa Hilda said, think about your children. Think about your children's children and their future. Climate change, ladies and gentlemen, is a justice issue. Therefore, we as young people believe that it is the moral obligation of the wider international community to respond in a way that will ensure life continuity and survival in smaller island nations. we all have our experiences with climate change, right? Whether we watch it on the news, read it on the newspapers, or see photos and videos on social media. I'm an Anglican, a proud Anglican. So, an Anglican bishop, Bishop Desmond Tutu, once said that 25 years ago, we may have excuses if we do not know much or do much about climate change. But today, we don't have any more excuses, especially for us Pacific people. I saw my mate Manu sitting down there, and he's a champion for suicide. So with the issue of suicide, in most cases there is the bully, the victim, and the bystander, right? They play roles, different roles, but the most important role, ladies and gentlemen, is played by the bystander, right? Because the bystander have all the right and the will in the world to approach the bully and in the process avoid the victim or prevent the victim from committing suicide. We understand the concept, right? So bring that concept and place it in climate change. There are bullies, bigger nations, bigger countries who just cannot and does not wish to stop their pollutions, their emissions. There are victims, our brothers and sisters, Pacific Islanders, who are on the front lines of climate change, who are faced with droughts, flooding, tropical cyclones, and you name it. And there are the bystanders, you and I. I was told I'm only given 5 minutes. I'll let you figure out the rest, right? Like I said, we have our different personal stories. For me, before, climate change was always something that I understood. I learned it at high school. I learned it at university. My lecturers told me that the climate has been changing for the past 2,000 years. So what are you on about? Until this year in February, when a Category 5 cyclone, tropical cyclone Winston, destroyed many parts of Fiji, killing 45 people, sending 50,000 people to evacuation centers. I pedal and jump into the Va'a, jump into the Vaka, jump into the Wanga, and start pedaling with our people who are advocating, who are on the front lines of climate change. My father once told me that, Malcolm, when a farmer sees a tree that's unhealthy, he does not look at the branches to diagnose it, but the roots. And so like that farmer, ladies and gentlemen, we don't need to look at the branches of the government, politicians, but us. We are the roots. But the reality is when a disaster strikes, ladies and gentlemen, we act in sympathy, we act in pity, we feel sorry for the victims of climate change, of these disasters. But as a young person, on behalf of other young people, I'm gonna lay it out tonight. It's about time for us to shift our mentality. It's about time for us to break out of that mentality and be so sympathetic. You know, when a disaster strikes, we send second-hand clothes to the islands, electric kettles to places where they don't have electricity, high heels to people who get them, but they don't know what to do with them. There are food sitting in containers in wharfs that are way past the use-by dates. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sounding so ungrateful right now, right? Forgive me if I do, but what I'm trying to say is we need to shift our mentality from being so sympathetic, pity, towards partnership and action. And you know what? Coming up with resilient strategies. Once again, I'm going to throw it out there. We cannot stop climate change. We cannot stop this climate crisis. Well, not in my generation, not in your generation. But we can work together to defend ourselves. We know that these cyclones, these changes, this crisis is coming. But how do we reach out to the people who are on the front lines of climate change? If you think, ladies and gentlemen, that our Talanoa is not affected by climate change, when we go down to the west and the east coast of North Island, we're told by kaumatuas and fires of how they grow up watching their lands being eaten away by the mighty Moana. Ladies and gentlemen, if our islands in the Pacific are going to sink, New Zealand, we will be next. So just like a caterpillar breaking out of its shell to become the magnificent butterfly, ladies and gentlemen, we need to break out of our ignorant shell, sympathetic shell, and we need to start working together. Right now, while we are talking here, enjoying ourselves, drinking our wine, juice, people are being forced out of their homes. In Fiji right now, the government has confirmed, ladies and gentlemen, the government of Fiji have confirmed 52 villages are guaranteed for relocation. In the year 2013, the government of Kiribati bought approximately 22 square kilometers in the northern part of Fiji, the Natovatu estate, because they know that one day Kiribati will be no more. These are part of their resilient strategies. The first Governor General of Fiji, Sir Arthur Gordon, he was in New Zealand before he came to Fiji. Well, that's why she told me. When he came over to Fiji and he saw how people live, and with confidence, it's the way we live in the Pacific. He said, and I quote, that when you separate these people from their lands, their race will die out. I'll let you figure that out. And if you think health professionals, how can we contribute to creating resilient strategies? I'll give you an example. Right now, infant mortality in Kiribati is the highest in the Pacific. So how can we as health professionals reach out once again to the people, to our people who are the front lines of climate change? When a disaster strikes, the real disaster is not during the cyclones, but the real disaster is 4 or 5 weeks after the cyclone, when people run out of food, when there's no healthy water, mosquitoes are breeding everywhere. Health professionals, how do we work in partnership to reach out to our people? I'm talking too much now, so I need to conclude. Please allow me to conclude. So, ladies and gentlemen, young people, and I'm going to make a bold statement right now. We, the young people, leaders of today and tomorrow, we are making a stand. So we're inviting you to stand with us. Because we believe that these resilient strategies, without these resilient strategies, on the edge of the world, people of a nation wait. And on what was 4,000 years ago, the end of humanity's global migration, could see the beginning of this retreat. And because of the location of many of our island nations like Kiribati, Tuvalu, Marshall Islands, they were the first countries to see the new millennium. But unfortunately, it can be said that they won't be there, or they won't be surviving to see the next. Last month, I was in Fiji. Obviously, most of you know I went to bury my father. And with all this pain, with all these questions, my father died at 47. He wasn't ill or anything, he was shocked. So all this pain, all these questions that I had within me, I went over. And this is my reality. So after burying my father, I went into my room while everyone was enjoying the cover and the Talanoa, reminiscing my dad's life. I put all this anger and these thoughts into a piece of paper, and I want to share with you today to conclude. And I hope you enjoy it. Our title is Daddy, Can You Hear Me? Daddy, can you hear me? You may not see me anymore. I'm begging you to hear me. Deep down, I know that you feel me. Yesterday, you're broken. Our families lost their homes. You cried, villages destroyed in that cyclone. But Daddy, you don't hear me. Your teachings of Fijians affirming their father's village, claiming land as their own God-given privilege. Stories of identity anchors me down, links to the land, the ocean, my treasures, my crown. Lessons of guardianship continually, passing a generation to another, informing you with respect for family, environment, community. Tell me, Daddy, tell me if you could hear me. Remember our last conversation, Daddy? You were terrified when you heard Betio Hospital in Kiribati destroyed by king tides. They erected high sea walls to keep waves aside. They didn't stand a chance. There were mothers and newborns in their hospital. Newborns like Aggie, Daddy. Even in Pompeii, in the Federated States of Micronesia, the temperature keeps rising beyond expected level, where heat is unbearable, causing weather to be unpredictable. Traditional winds that signal seasonal changes don't blow when they should anymore. What about Cyclone Winston? You watch helplessly as my people, our people, Daddy, were killed. Homes were destroyed, wind gusts, tidal waves. These are our stories of climate change. You told of my forebears, sailing from the Solomon Islands to Nassau in Fiji. Daddy, did you know that 5 islands in the Solomon disappeared under the sea? What makes you so sure, Daddy, that none of these islands protected my cultural identity? Oh, I wish, Daddy, I wish you could hear me. And when Api, Laurie, Mom, and Lani are faced with disasters, we pray to be forecasters, hoping for sunshine, but we can only visualize pain inflicted by climate change right before our eyes. Arietta Rica once said, if you look at the narrative of our people in the face of climate change without pessimism, then you fail to understand our realities. And this is only a half-truth. And when half-truths are told, the pursuit for justice is misguided. Did you hear that, Daddy? When half-truths are told, the pursuit for justice is misguided. Daddy, we ain't experiencing the destruction in Vanuatu, Tuvalu, Kiribati, Marshall Islands, Fiji. But I'm pretty confident, Daddy, that we are more than just sinking lands, dead breadfruit trees. Hear me so that we don't need to flee, becoming climate change refugees, but give our stories justice, addressing iniquity, encouraging our people to speak truth to power sensibly, confidently. Our truth is not just living, but thriving on the front lines of climate change. You're living us, Daddy. You're living me. But before you go and rest high on the mountain, before you flee, I urge you, Daddy, to shift our story from being so emotionally, or they call it sympathy, towards partnership in action with consistency, defending ourselves through resilient strategies. Because if the world continues to be ignorant, somewhere in the heavens, I know you can hear me. This is our courage, Daddy. And our courage is our story. Our courage in demanding climate justice. Are you with me, Daddy? We'll never let you down. Thank you.
Malcolm, thank you very much for that inspiring talk. Thank you very much for reminding us of climate change, and which is a real pertinent issue for all of us today.